Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to our brand new season on the After Maghrib Podcast, where we are excited and delighted to start and kickstart episode 1 in love of Ali ibn Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'mineen. For mentioning Ali, where do I begin when praising him has no end? But I'll hold that thought for after I introduce my co-host. Habibi, salam Ahmed.
Alhamdulillah, how are you doing?
Not too bad, good to see you again.
Likewise.
And I'm excited to be back on.
Yeah, it's been a very, very long time. Brothers and sisters, thank you so much for tuning in. We hoped you missed being here as much as we did. It's been a number of weeks. Of course, we finished the Fatimiyya period, and now we are back with none other than the wiladat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. This is a time which is defining for us our identity. Everything we believe in, everything we stand for is found in these days, brothers and sisters. So we wanted to honor this occasion with fadail, with remembrance of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and none other than two of our favorite brothers from the community are joining us. Husain Al-Sukhni, assalamu alaikum. How you doing, bro?
Well, I'm honored to be here. I'm excited to be on the first episode of this amazing show. I'm a fan before I'm a guest on this show. Especially when you shout out Shawab al-Akbar and you do Shawab al-Akbar, makes me more of a fan. I'm honored to be here between my two brothers and friends from a long time, and inshallah we can we can't do justice to Amir al-Mu'mineen, but inshallah we can do some scratches.
Inshallah.
We try.
Inshallah. And of course the young talent from our community, Haider Satar, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, how are you doing, bro?
I'm good. Lovely to have you here. We've heard you do youth lectures. We've heard you, mashallah, educate us, young and old. We're all learning from you.
Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah, we'll learn more from you today.
Alhamdulillah, but everything in the sake of Abu Abdullah, we can never give enough. Alhamdulillah, it's a pleasure to be here. Nice atmosphere.
Yeah?
Yeah. And
Do you think there's a few changes?
We've changed it up.
Yeah. It gives the newer vibes.
Yeah.
Nicer vibes.
To be honest, we were thinking like...
You know, it's a bit like Inception. Have you seen that thing? Where
Yeah.
Again, like you get lost.
I don't know what you guys think of the logo, but where do we begin, Said?
I think we're going to start straight with Hussein, to be honest. Because, you know, Hussein is someone I've known for many years, by the way. And they say... And I know it's true, actually. We are like distant relatives somehow. I still can't figure it out.
Someone's uncle is married to someone's auntie. Yeah, we're distant cousins.
So we've got some relationship, alhamdulillah. But Hussein is a good friend of mine. And wherever I see like service, khidmah, majalis, celebration, whatever it is, Hussein is always in the center of everything that goes on. So wherever we see the remembrance of the Ahl al-Bayt, especially Ali ibn Abi Talib, we find Husain Al-Sukhni everywhere.
It's not in our hands, Said. We say this to everyone.
This is the love. It's a magnet.
Number one, it's the magnet. Number two, if they don't want us there, we won't be there. If we're good, we're bad, there's a reason for us to be there. And inshallah, we can, answer that call. Inshallah, we can do something to fix our bad, and inshallah, to help try bring other people into the circle.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you a question here on the spot, yeah? Maybe to kind of get the atmosphere going.
I love on the spot questions. Yeah, go for it.
We as Shias, we're very emotional beings.
Correct.
Okay, so we mourn as hard as we can mourn, and we mourn with all our heart, and then we celebrate the same way as well. How do you feel at a time like this, 13th of Rajab, this wiladat of Amir al-Mu'mineen? What do you do? Like, how do you get into the vibe, and how do you celebrate and remember?
Look, I think one period of time that taught us a big lesson about how much we should celebrate and how extravagant our celebrations should be is through COVID. And I don't like bringing it up 2 years after it's gone. Like, those times were not nice times, but we were deprived from the majalis in certain areas and from the afrah of the Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam. Whereas now, I think we're going at the speed of times 10.
Yeah.
Maybe before we were, okay, let's put sawad, let's put some nice drapes, some colours. But now we're just going full steam ahead, all the afrah, all the mawalid, making sure the colours are bright for mawalid, make sure we bring the best reciters, making sure we invite people from all backgrounds in the community. And, giving it its haqq, the mawlid. Because we know what it's like. It's like when our parents say at the time of the in Iraq, the time of the Ba'ath, when they were deprived from majalis. They couldn't do anything. Saddam's times. Now they come to London, they opened Husainiyat, they opened centers, we grew up on the love of the Ahlul Bayt from how much they were deprived from the love of Ahlul Bayt at the time of Saddam. It's similar, it's not the same, but I think it's
something interesting speaking about Saddam is I had a conversation with someone about a year ago when we were discussing this. I actually found some good in what Saddam was doing. Don't get shocked.
Yeah. No, I know you're going with this, but
The fact that we fled Iraq, we went to the entire world, and Ahl al-Bayt got spread globally.
there is
I'm not saying he did good. But I'm saying there was some good that came out of it.
There's hikmah in everything. The majalis of the Ahl al-Bayt and the Dhikr of Ali ibn Abi Talib doesn't stop on me or you or Haider or Ahmed. It flows. If I'm here, if I'm not here, it flows. Fatima al-Zahra, salamullahi alayha, if she wants you there, you're there. She wants the majalis to run, it runs. We are created for that reason. This is my core belief, and I'm sure majority of the Shia, this is what we believe. Our core belief is we are created for the remembrance of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So we need to uphold that.
Dhikru aliyun ibadah.
Dhikru aliyun ibadah. Salah is ibadah. Siyam is ibadah. Dhikru aliyun ibadah. They come hand in hand.
Yeah.
If you don't have one, there's a problem somewhere.
I mean, you can't understand aspects of religion without understanding Amir al-Mu'mineen. It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
When you have the one who perfected Islam and protected the revelation of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it does not make sense. You have one who brought the revelation and one who interpreted and protected the revelation. So to understand the revelation, you need to understand both sides of the coin. But Amir al-Mu'mineen is till this day, 1400 years later, they cannot erase the name of Amir al-Mu'mineen.
They cannot.
No matter how many times they tried, the Umayyads, the Abbasids, and all the other tyrants since, we will never, stop.
I'm glad you mentioned those empires. Before we get to Haider, because I know he's dying to
dying,
drop lines.
Way too dry.
So get them ready.
His name is Haider.
اسم على مسمى إن شاء الله. The empires, the Umayyad Empire, the Ottoman Empire, a lot of the Seljuk Empire, they oppressed the Shia. They killed the Shia. They burnt Shia books.
Yeah.
Even the Shia at the time who fled to the mountains, they were left with one thing: the name of Ali ibn Abi Talib. That's why you have so many variations of Shia, you could say. In Turkey, you have the Alawi Shia. In Kosovo, which is people are surprised to know the Shia there. There's Shia Wala'iyin in Kosovo. Maybe not the way we see Shia, Ithna Ashariya and Azza wa Latom or Imam al-Sadiq. Qima, But if they took one thing away with them when they were being oppressed during the empires, was the love of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said, we pray to Allah for the hidayah of everyone so they know Imam Sahib al-Zaman and they know what's coming, but at least they have the foundation of the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi. And that's what we build, I think, our lives around.
That's so true. The fact all four of us are here is built around the walaya of Amir al-Mu'mineen.
And our lives are built around that. And then I pray and I thank my parents day and night. Well, I thank Allah that my parents raised me in the walaya of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And it's a blessing. And it's more of a blessing for those that don't come from that background and see the light of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So I could take it for granted being raised in that environment.
And God really loves them, honestly. Honest to God, because it's difficult for anyone to come say, you know what, who is Ali? Because we're a minority at the end of the day. So it's very rare for someone to come and check that path of the Ahl al-Bayt. Honestly, if God guides your heart, He loves you.
That's tawfiq to another.
And they say, if you would know if Allah loves you, puts the love of Ali in your heart.
It's
a huge thing.
And we see them in our majalis. We see a lot of new faces and they come and tell us. By the way, I became Shia 2-3 years ago. I started watching lectures on this channel, on that channel. I was watching this Latmiya from Latmiyat, not even a lecture. And I love the vibe, the atmosphere. Like you mentioned earlier, we're very emotional. So we need to work on that emotion to build that love more into people's hearts. Alhamdulillah, shukr.
Haider, what do you reckon?
Well, same as Brother Hussein. The atmosphere in the majalis really bring that sense of, like, it gives you that sense in your heart. You bring out that love for the Imams. You bring out the love for Abi Abdullah al-Husain. Like he was mentioning about reverts who are open to telling us, oh, I converted 2 years ago. Most of them, you see that when they hear the tragedies, for example, they fall in love. And automatically, I think that's also a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And subhanallah, Allah blesses people through different ways. Like he said, latmiyat, lectures, it happens in mysterious ways. But like I said, the love of Ali ibn Abi Talib and all the Imams, I feel you're a true mu'min if you have the love of Ali alayhi salam.
Of course, obviously on this day, this is the day where we commemorate, not commemorate as such, but more celebrate, and we remember the birth of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And
Salamullah.
on this day, when Fatima bint Asad walked to the corner of the Kaaba and she made the dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the doors of the wall of the Kaaba split open.
Who else would the Kaaba split open for, apart from Ali ibn Abi Talib?
It's sublime, subhanallah. You think about it, and he when after staying in the Kaaba for 3 days, of course we know, and for those inshallah who are looking more into the story, we learn together and the history of Islam. It's beautiful, the relationship that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created for the Kaaba and Amir al-Mu'mineen. That from birth he was born in the Kaaba, and he was born within the Kaaba, and even his biggest enemies had to do sujood towards the Kaaba. So no matter how much they hated Amir al-Mu'mineen, they were still bowing to the place of his birth. Till this day. And the last words he spoke on this earth were Fustu bi-Rabb al-Kaaba. And the relationship that Amir al-Mu'mineen had with the Kaaba is something which is, I think, fundamental for us to understand, that Allah is saying that Amir al-Mu'mineen was born inside the cradle of Islam. He did not become a Muslim or was the first man to become a Muslim. Of course, we say that. But in the sense that Amir al-Mu'mineen was born with Islam. It's fundamentally part of his essence and his being, and it's inseparable, you know? So I think it's maybe a good place for us to start when we talk about the birth of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and kind of that concept and the honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him to be the only one who was born in the Kaaba.
No, you're very right. You're very right. And the fact that he was born in the Kaaba is miraculous in itself. There's no one else in Islamic history that I know full well that, let's say, the majority of all schools that accept, only Ali ibn Abi Talib was born in the Kaaba. And the beautiful thing about his mother Fatima alayhi salam is that when she asked Allah to help her with the pangs of pregnancy, she said, I asked you by the person inside my room. Already some sort of intercession or wasila already we can see already implemented before this whole argument of, can we do wasila or not. She asked by the individual inside her womb, and Allah cracked open the Kaaba, the house of God.
It's crazy.
Opened for Ali ibn Abi Talib.
Whatever personality you want to look at as a qudwa or as an example to look up to, you usually look at later in their life after they achieved a few milestones. But only, like you mentioned, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salamullahi alayhi, from the day he was born. From before he was born. Which other human in history do you use as a idol, not idol, as a leader from before they were born? They have to have achieved something in their life.
That's very true.
But only Ali ibn Abi Talib, salamullahi alayhi, from the day he was born, from before he was born till the day he died, every step he done, even in his salah, in his battles, everything he done was a lesson for us and something we can follow in our life. It's just incredible. There's not enough words to describe what Ali ibn Abi Talib done to this world. Sometimes I just think about it, I'm like, it's crazy. It's actually crazy. We love Ali ibn Abi Talib because I speak about myself. I grew up in a certain region. I grew up in a certain household. But there's people around the world, the way they show their love to Amir al-Mu'mineen, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. It's I don't understand how what's Imam Ali done to these people for them to have this much love for him.
What do you mean? Like what?
In terms of the way they express their love, the regions they are in, the mountainous people who have nothing apart from the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the celebrations they do, the way they celebrate, the way they sacrifice their lives, their children's lives, their wives to the service of Amir al-Mu'mineen, without having the privilege of being in an environment where it's there for you on a plate. Alhamdulillah, I go ziyarah every year. We grew up in Husainiyya. We are there every munasabah, every shahada, every celebration. We grew up with those things. But there's some people
they don't have access to
it's
that.
in their fitrah.
It's
in their fitrah. It's really hard to explain, but it just shows how the world has gone crazy for this figure, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. It's crazy.
I would like to add something to it, touching on the point of how people go to extreme extents. For example, you have other, maybe so-called other Shia sects who take Ali not only as just an imam, but have him as a god. But if you're, astaghfirullah, obviously. But if you're someone who's not Shia and don't know who Ali ibn Abi Talib is, alayhi salam, you would think, what has this man done for people to go to the extent of really worshipping him? If Ali ibn Abi Talib was just a man, as other people say, or just a cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or just another sahabi, why are people going to these extents where they are showing their love? They have like their emotion, they can't control their emotions to the point where, like I said, they see him as God, astaghfirullah. But I think that just shows the Imam Ali alayhi salam, he had virtues like no other. A man who showed his courage and bravery, a man who never denied anything to Rasulullah, such as, for example, when Rasulullah, the enemies were trying to come kill Rasulullah, and Imam Ali slept in Rasulullah's bed, so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam can complete his journey. And anyone, like for example, the Prophet, you would say, oh yeah, I would sleep in your bed, or Prophet, and I would take your place. But you have to really dig deep into that. When you're sleeping in the Prophet's place, you have to realize that the enemies could come in.
Saying these things is easy, but actually
doing it,
thinking about it,
compromise.
he actually done it.
It makes no sense. It makes, we talk about the hate, or sorry, the extreme love that people go to the extent. And we know that Amir al-Mu'mineen says there are two types of people who will perish: the one who loves me too much and the one who hates me too much. Let's talk about the opposite end, okay? Why and how do people? Why and how do people not accept Amir al-Mu'mineen as the chosen, the rightful first Imam after Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How?
Don't forget, you mentioned an important point earlier, which I touched upon as well. The empires that came after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A lot of them, their aim was to destroy the dhikr of Amir al-Mu'mineen by literally burning people alive, burning scholars, burning books. So a lot of the history that we get on what actually happened and who he actually was got destroyed. So we've got our information, but for those who grew up in a different household, they'll be like, okay, but I've got different books. I've got books that say we've got other revered figures, for example, and they fought against Amir al-Mu'mineen. So why should I have this extreme love for Amir al-Mu'mineen? So I can understand their point of view. Obviously, 100% disagree with their point of view because it makes no sense. It makes absolutely, without Amir al-Mu'mineen, there is no Islam. But because of their ancestors' doings, they have no information on Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. They played a big role, these empires, from them obliterating the Fatimid Empire, which was in Tunis, Maghrib, Egypt, and taken over by the Seljuk Empire, for them destroying the Buyid Empire, and killing all the Shia from that side. What's left of the Shia at the time?
Absolutely.
There's nothing left. So for us to even have this information, it's fitra. That's all I can say. There's people that are born with the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen with hardly any information. And that's it. That's
very true.
I like that point. You know why? Because, when we first started season 1 of this After Maghrib podcast, by the way, someone was like, why are you calling yourself a Shia podcast? And I was like in my head, so much blood and sweat went into it. Not us here, but previous generations, just to keep the remembrance and the message of Ahlul Bayt alive. We should be proud and happy that we have the opportunity and platform to say our identity as who we are. Shia Ali ibn Abi Talib.
That does bring us to the middle point as well, because you've got people that hate Amir al-Mu'mineen and people that love him too much. But there's those that are Shia, but are not proud of their Shia identity. And that's something that we need to...
We've had a discussion on that.
We've had discussion. Remember that drive from Birmingham? We were driving down. We've had our nice road trips, me and Sayed Ali. People... So, yes, I'm Shi'i, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Asadullah al-Ghalib. I love Amir al-Mu'mineen. But you know what? When I go to school, it's a bit hard for me to say it. Why is it hard for you to say it?
What are we shy about?
What are you shy about?
We spoke about this on a previous podcast.
We did,
What is there to hide?
We're not at risk of danger or harm.
Especially in this country.
Especially
in this country.
Haider, you're still young. So I'm sure you're still in school and you have these conversations.
I was about to touch up on the point. Right now, from what I've seen, being a Shia in school or just in a school environment, people find it pretty hard. For example, I've got 2 friends, both Iraqi, but because of the peer pressure, this was only very recent, they turned Sunni.
No way.
The only reason why is because we were praying in school, for example. Hands down, turba adna. Dola yijun, they come and say, oh, why are you praying with your hands down? Why are you praying like this? Instead of saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, why do you say Allahu Akbar 3 times? And the pressure becomes a lot.
It builds.
And as much as you want to become a better Muslim, like for example, them 2 people that I said, one of them, he tried going to a mosque, because around my area we don't really have a lot of Shia mosques, and obviously other sects, their mosques are open 24/7. So
You mean around your school area?
around my school area and around where the people live, like my friends, and yeah. So there's a specific mosque, and all of them try to go to it, as there's a youth club every Friday after the Maghrib prayer.
That's where
After the Maghrib prayer.
after
Yeah.
Shout out to the
Shout out.
And it's just the pressure that other people put on him for doing something differently, that it puts their mind in, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this act instead of doing that? And that comes in the form of jahiliyyah, without knowledge. If you don't have the knowledge, how are you going to back up what you do? You can't go and, for example, you've got an exam.
Yeah.
You're not going to write down something about maths in a science paper. You need knowledge about what you're writing about to actually
Exactly.
understand what you're doing.
You're very right.
It's same in like lessons, in life in general. So I think the lack of knowledge is where it's the killer for a lot of people. If you don't have knowledge, you're lost into ضايع يعني.
Oh, and you need knowledge for scenarios like this.
Yeah.
Because I remember back in my school, when I used to be like sixth form, there was like a huge, like constant debate almost daily between like Shia, Sunnis, whatnot. And I wouldn't say like we would lose arguments on stuff. We were young at that time, innit? But if we never knew something, we never like, okay, we gave up. No, we had to find out why we were right. So we'll go the extra mile, then we'll come back, we'll debate it all over again.
Knowledge is confidence.
I mean, for us as well, I think maybe a lot of our youth might feel like there's a lot to have to prove. Because we might believe everything the majority of Muslims believe, let's say 90% of what a lot of people believe. Plus, then you've got to talk about 12 Imams, Karbala, Ghadir, like you've got to talk about extra stuff. So you have to be young and you have to be able to discuss Isma' and infallibility. You've got to be able to discuss Wilaya and all these various concepts that we believe in. And then the politicization of modern day Shia Islam and all of these various things. There is, of course, a lot of pressure. Yeah. But it brings us back to the core fundamental point that even with us being a minority and even with us being, pressured with tyrannical governments and trying to shut us down and modern day Daesh, for example, hunting people, we will never exterminate. Simple as that. There's that phrase, we're like seeds, you plant us in the ground, you bury us in the ground, we'll sprout. And that's what we are. And after all of that, how are you going to put Ali fourth? Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all.
This is the person, Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He raised Ali ibn Abi Talib. He fed him with his own mouth. How are you going to put him forth? Amir al-Mu'mineen, where he was the first da'wat al-Ashira, he stood up. He said, I will be your wazir, your wasi, your wali. How are you going to put him forth? The one who, for example, married Fatima al-Zahra, how are you going to put him forth? Beloved daughter of the Holy Prophet.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. The list
sense.
is endless. He fought at Badr, Uhud, Hunayn, Khandaq, Nahrawan. How are you going to put him forth? He stood up in Ghadir, his hand was raised. This is my successor. How are you going to put him forth? The man who died in sujood, in Layal al-Qadr, in Shahr Ramadan, how are you going to put him forth? There is endless proof, in my opinion, that Amir al-Mu'mineen is, the chosen successor of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And if anything, he completes Islam for us. Yeah. Where would we be without Imam Ali?
Lost.
Yeah.
Completely lost. We would be, believing in a faith far away from Rasulullah, to be honest, far away from Islam. And it's nice that you mentioned the point, like, how can you put him four? And the most interesting thing about that, what you just said, is that even though he was four for many, he was still first for
many
at the same time. Yeah. But the beauty about him being four, shall we say, is that even though he was classed as Caliph the rightly guided Caliph number 4, they will still come to him when he was not Caliph. So if they had an issue, they have to come to Ali ibn Abi Talib.
It's always back to
there was someone used to deal with a Islamic penal code, they'll come to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Well, they always had to come back to Ali. Lola Ali lo halaka, you know the rest. Yeah. So regardless, you always had to come back to Ali ibn Abi Talib.
But what Haider was mentioning earlier about, getting that knowledge or knowledge aside, building that confidence where you're in school and you can pray with your hands down, pray with the Torah. What's the solution for that, do you guys think? How do we build that confidence in our youth and our shabab where they go to school, not just going for a debate, but going with pride? This is who I am, this is what I believe. I'm not here to debate you, you can believe what you want, but this is who I am. I have the wilaya of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he is everything to me. Yalla, go finish your homework. Leave me alone, this is who I am. The problem is, and this is Haider's generation. Haider, you're 16? Years ago we were
Haider, what year were you born in?
2006.
Jesus.
Allahu
طبعا
Akbar.
a little side note, Haider joined Shawab Al-Akbar 3
Yeah.
years ago.
MashaAllah.
He joined by auditioning to play the role of Qasim, son of Imam Al-Hasan Ali.
MashaAllah.
And the passion that I saw in Haider. Now, from that day on, he's been involved in reenactments. He's been involved in the sound. He's been involved in camera work. He's been involved in Sawad. In the last 3 years, he's one of the backbones of the Hater right now. And I think that's one of the things that's, well, even before that, he had that confidence to go into school and debate. But I think that's one of the things that helped as well.
Yeah. As in terms of involving
In terms
him.
of involving him.
Yeah.
So I think that's a point. But there must be more we can do.
Yeah.
Because we can't bring everyone. There's only so much amount of people you can bring to you and work with them or create the environment for them, sort of thing, you know?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you mentioned, 2 of his friends left the Shia. People in my school left the Shia. People came towards the Shia, but why are we losing people? I don't believe in da'wah in terms of, oh, let's go give out books. Da'wah. We do da'wah with our akhlaq, with our respect to people, with the love we show towards the Ahlul Bayt. People see that in us. But we need to have a method where we can keep those shabab from going astray, because the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen is not something you can take for granted.
It's priceless.
It's priceless.
It's not worth losing.
It's not worth losing. And my heart breaks for those who lose that path.
Yeah.
But we need to find a solution.
Well, to be honest, bro, maybe it's conviction and confidence. And if we teach, Imam Radha alayhi salam has a hadith where he says, teach people our ways and we will do the rest. And he talks about we being the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And I think when we look at that, or we look at Hadith Thaqalain, and Rasulullah says 2 weighty things, Quran and the Ahlul Bayt, do not leave either of them or you'll go astray. From a young age, and it comes obviously down to parenting in a lot of cases, and of course the wider community plays a more, in my opinion, a more external role. But from a young age, or even from birth, we're told that, bring your kids up in a way where they understand what they believe in before you start looking into other madhahib and you start looking into like, to be honest, I fell trapped to this as well, bro. Like, at a young age, I'm pinpointing like issues with different schools of thought, whether
In
it's
this
fiqh
book, on
or
this
philosophy.
page, it says this. How does it say the
Different
opposite on this
reference,
page?
Page 562 of some next book no one's heard. Like you're it doesn't
Scholars
help.
from the age of 5.
honestly, like, maybe, to be honest, at the end of the day, confidence in and conviction in what we are taught to believe in, that's enough, at least in my opinion, bro. But the Wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen is the first thing in terms of our identity as Shi'i, which differ us from anyone else. When Rasulullah was he was having his janazah, who was there? Amir al-Mu'mineen was there, and others were not. And from that point, specifically speaking, if you're not talking historically, it speaks volumes.
100%.
Where were the others when Rasulullah was being buried? And you follow this guy, you've been with him for 23 years, he's just died. In the year before, he had 120,000 companions in Ghadir.
You're a close friend, you should be
The
there.
right-hand man.
And you don't need to say more. The names are there in history. We can read for ourselves. But the point being, Amir al-Mu'mineen was there. In that point in history, that's where things took 2 different directions. And if we understand that, at least to us, that speaks answers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the Holy Quran, He honored different Al Yasin, Al Imran, and of course Al Muhammad in this case has that honor. So we should understand that maybe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is setting a trend for us to recognize in the Holy Quran. And Allah says that this is a book of stories and for us to reflect on. And that in the final message, the complete message of religion, that the final prophet would have a successor. Obviously we can go on and on and on, but I think that just understanding the relationship between Rasulullah and Amir al-Mu'mineen is enough. Things about turab and using a mor or turba or these kind of things, these are all nitty-gritty details, in my opinion.
It's interesting that you mentioned, for example, Al Yasin, Al Imran, and the Quran and its relationship with the Ahlul Bayt. A lot of people, when I used to have these debates, they would say, okay, why is Amir al-Mu'mineen's name not mentioned in the Quran? Does it have to be? He is the Quran.
The walking Quran.
The walking Quran. He is the Quran.
I said that, yeah.
Does it have to be mentioned?
I said that. I got shredded on TikTok. Bro, people say, how are you saying this
I don't say that with like, maybe. No, it's just, it makes perfect sense to me. Why would I mention him in the Quran when he is the Quran?
Yeah.
Without him, no one would understand the Quran.
Yeah.
They're 2 weighty things. They come hand in hand. There's no, like, you can't take one away from the other. Now, unfortunately, on a darker note, a lot of our Shia, they neglect the Quran. And we've seen this in the community.
Very true.
We need to understand that as well at the same time. If we have the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, we need to uphold the teachings of the Quran and read the Quran. You know, just a little, that was 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, reading 1-2 pages of the Quran.
Yeah, it goes a long way.
It goes a very long way.
I just want to touch on that point that you mentioned earlier. You asked, what's the solution? I think the solution is we have to make Shia less cultural and more belief.
Yeah.
If you understand the core beliefs like Tawheed, Nubuwa, Adala.
But don't you think the culture plays a role in it?
It plays a role in terms of...
You're digging holes.
I'm here to dig holes.
Yeah.
I'm here on After Maghrib. I love your show. I'm here to dig holes.
Culture is important. We should be happy about it, and we should be comfortable.
Yeah.
And in that terms, best for belief, like for us, never to question our faith, never to question, why Ali is not number one, for example, things like that. You have to have that belief.
You have to.
And the culture brings us.
And I think it's important. Like I know some communities like they have madrasa, things like that. That plays a big role.
Yeah.
Whereas other communities, all they have is latum, I'll be honest. And that really affects because you can be attached emotionally to Ali and the Ahlul Bayt. But mentally,
But that's the thing, because you have in our community in London, if we talk about London,
you need it all. You need the full package.
You have
London's
youth,
a problem.
you have youth who are connected to Amir al-Mu'mineen or to Islam on an educational, on an academic level, but lack the heart.
But I'll take latam.
Do you know what I mean? And then you've got youth,
That's
for
what I'm
example, who
saying.
will do latam, but for example, won't understand, the what they're doing for, or may not know the names of the 12 Imams to a certain age or things like that. And there has to be a balance, it's something we know, like our heart, we know these things. You mentioned about the Holy Quran is very important. How can we prove wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen if we don't know where wilayah is proven in the Holy Quran? How many ayats are there which either discreetly hint at wilayah or overtly and openly talk about wilayah?
They talk about the Ahlul Bayt.
They
They talk about the Ahlul Bayt in the Quran. If we knew the Quran, we would know that this is referring to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Surah Al-Kawthar is referring to Fatima Zahra. If we don't, Salamullah alayhi, if we don't even know this simplest thing, the shortest surah in the Quran, if we don't understand who it refers to, there's a big problem.
Even Ayat al-Tathir.
Ayat al-Tathir. There's ayat for days in the Quran about the Ahlul Bayt. Just because it's not specifically mentioned by name, it shows there's a naqas or there's something wrong with us that we're not understanding what this is referring to.
Some say Ayat al-Tathir is the wives of the Prophet. But the beautiful thing about it is that they came and asked Rasulullah, who are the Ahlul Bayt? And he mentioned them by name. Ali, Fatima, Hassan.
And we have events like Mubahila. Says it all.
Says it all.
It's there in history. Haider, what do you reckon?
Well, I have the same answer as well. And if you don't mind me touching back on Husain's point,
please,
about the answer of how to gain that confidence, I've got a simple answer. Majalis.
Majalis,
يعني شوية it builds up. Maybe the first time you go, you don't understand nothing. Second time you go, you're starting to understand. But it's the fact that you're gathering in the community, and like you touched up on Sayyidina, culture. Culture also plays a big role from young. We are tarbiyah from the parents, how you're raised. For example,
tarbiyah al-Husayniyya, ni'mah min Allah.
For me, my name's Haider. Every time you go to the Husayniyya shouting Haider, it brings you as a young person, you don't know what's going on. You think, oh yeah, why are they saying my name?
You're taking me to Ashura. Be careful.
You're reminding me of one time, the first time I went to Karbala after the war, after everything, 2003. I was with my dad, a kid. We got to the shrine. I don't understand what's going on. I just know Rasul al-A'zam, Crookwood. I'm a kid. He goes to me, my dad was sitting in front of the shrine. He goes to me, every year you hear Hussein. This is Hussein.
No way.
Just like that.
My love, bless your father.
Just like that. And that hit me so hard. And he named me Hussein. And it just showed that it's not just what we're living, it's what they lived and what they're trying to instill in us as well. And inshallah, we instill it in our children and in the next generations.
That's heavy, bro.
Just remembering that gave me
goosebumps.
We were sitting there. It's before now it's been Haramain, it's nice house. It was just tarab.
Bro, look what that did for you, and look
it
where
changed
it's
me.
taken
It changed me.
You are who you are because of the name your father gave you and what he's taught you.
100%.
Allah bless him.
100%. Yeah.
Where do we go? Because obviously now we are now talking about Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Wiladat. I want to ask you guys a question, okay?
Leave me lost.
For someone who's listening to this, they want to get hyped. Okay, I'm talking hyped. They want to feel in all their heart the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen. They want to, like, their blood to be like just going crazy, rushing, adrenaline, because filled with the love, the muhabba that we have for Amir al-Mu'mineen. Where do we start? Sayyid, give me some juice.
Ali ma al-haq wal-haq ma Ali.
have some
The
juice.
truth is with Ali.
Oh, we got a
And
shout out
Ali
to
is
juice as well.
Yeah, you know, let's talk about
Shout out,
these
shout
juices.
out, shake time.
That will pump us up.
You did say juice, you just got me.
Yeah.
I've been
Nice transition.
craving to have a sip. Hang on.
Nah, well, you guys, you're all having sips.
You've been having sips every
I've been
2 seconds.
I'm nearly done, bro. Honestly. No, shout out Shake Time Kingsbury. If you guys haven't been already,
Amazing
please do.
drinks.
Amazing, mashallah.
Amazing
They've been
Refreshing.
going now for what, like nearly a year?
It says drink it with passion.
Drink it with passion.
I really did.
Everything you want. Desserts, crepes, drinks, mashallah.
But on a serious note,
Yeah.
Ali is with the truth and the truth is with Ali. Rasulullah said this.
Yeah.
So, يعني, if you want to see what haq is, you find Ali. If you want to see what Ali is, you find haq. You want to see, you know, who has the best supplications, go to Ali. Who has the best of worship, you go to Ali. Who has the best of charity, you go to Ali. Who has the best of generosity, you go to Ali. Who has the best of supplications, you go to Ali. And where else would you go?
Ali.
No, Haidari.
Ya Ali. Ya Ali Mawla.
I'll leave the rest to you lot.
That's it, let's go home. Let's go. But, so
That's the energy.
That's the
يعني.
energy.
That's Ali.
Where I see Amir al-Mu'mineen always is in the battlefield. Now people will say,
Interesting.
why are you saying always it's war? But I don't see it from the killing side of things. I see it the way he controlled himself in those environments.
Ahsan.
Hey,
Ahsan.
you just gave me so much memories.
Talk. Let me say that's enough. Amir al-Mu'mineen, I've heard this plenty of times. I don't know if it's verified or not, but I've heard this from
It's
scholars.
fact checked.
Hopefully it is. We'll get it fact
We have
checked.
someone called Yasser behind the scenes keeping us in check, inshallah.
They'd say Amir al-Mu'mineen wouldn't kill someone in the battlefield without looking through his generations.
Lineage.
I heard there's 70 generations.
70 generations.
Seven. I
Seven
just got fact checked.
generations.
Seven.
Yeah.
To seeing if there's a Mawali in that in that lineage. If there is, he wouldn't kill them.
We grew up hearing that,
By
right?
the way, I think the correct term to that is idol worship.
Is it?
I think idol worship, yeah.
Regardless, you're looking 7 generations down in
crazy.
my man's lineage to decide his fate. What?
هو يعني he's coming to kill Ali.
He's coming to kill Ali.
But he's thinking seven
I'm not going to
generations
kill you
down.
because 7 generations down there's going to be a change in
Look at the
your
mercy of Ali.
A man, a'udhu billah, spat in the face of Amir al-Mu'mineen. A'udhu billah. I can't even say that without hating myself for
This is
saying
one
that.
of the most famous battles. Everyone should know about this.
How is someone doing that to you? It's me, and that someone's doing that to me, that's a death sentence. But Amir al-Mu'mineen would walk away,
Compose himself.
compose himself, and do it for the sake of Allah, not for the sake of him being insulted by the filth in front of him. That's where I see Amir al-Mu'mineen in the battlefield. Not with him killing people, but with his composure in the battlefield.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All the time that he brings the sun back because of the delayed battle. What are we talking?
Salah.
I'm not gonna
For
lie, I
Salah,
haven't
For
heard
the
that.
prayer. No,
What, he brought the sun
exists.
back?
Yeah. I think it
This-
was born,
he-
right? Yeah.
Habibi, Amir al-Mu'mineen, the battle, and I fact check this. After a battle that got delayed, it passed the time of Dhuhr,
That's it.
Boom.
Maghrib.
straight back. Allahu Akbar. Ammi Amir al-Mu'mineen, like there's sathi stuff, there's stuff we can say on the level, but there's some stuff that I've heard from scholars that if it's said, it doesn't make sense. It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not right. But it's spiritual stuff. Islam is not just
The
books.
esoteric and the exoteric.
It's ridiculous. The
Yeah,
stuff that
yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard, it's like Amir al-Mu'mineen. So like subhanallah. The battlefield. That's why I see Amir al-Mu'mineen.
Yeah.
Following up on the point of composure, when, for example, just look at it like straight. When Imam Ali got struck on the head by Ibn Muljim, la'natullah alayhi, in the salah, how composed was he even when he got struck on the head? What was his first action that he done? He gave water
Give
to
water,
Ibn Muljim.
yeah.
Subhanallah. Any other person, if you were to get struck on your head, what would you do?
I swear I'm getting palpitations. Like my heart's beating so fast.
You wouldn't even know what to do, bro. Like,
You just reminded me of Allah of the first of Karbala. Yeah, Hussein, sorry. Go
Salam
ahead.
alaikum, Abu Abdullah. Linking it to Karbala, you know, Shimr was given water long before Karbala by Amir al-Mu'mineen.
At the Battle of
The
Siffin.
Battle of Siffin. Long before Karbala, Shimr was given water by Amir al-Mu'mineen. What did he do? I don't want to go into that,
And-
but it shows the the mannerisms of the Ahlul Bayt, the mannerisms of Amir al-Mu'mineen.
Was this the point where Imam Hussein asked Ali to loosen the ropes?
Loosen the ropes.
Allahu
Yes, to
Akbar.
loosen the ropes, yeah. And Amir al-Mu'mineen would have known.
And they don't know? Of course they know what's happening in the future. If we're saying he looks 7 generations down, he won't know what happened to his son in Karbala. The Prophet didn't say what happened to his son in Karbala. He knows. But at the same time, the mannerisms stay, the akhlaq of the Ahlul Bayt stay. They are a guide to all of us. And we see them in these times.
I think it's those moments,
These
and
moments.
those split moments, which are defining in terms of who they are and the legacy they've left. Because you could talk about lifting Khaybar and the wall of the Kaaba splitting and all these fascinating cinematic moments. Do you know what I mean? But it's those moments like the composure you're saying, or the mercy and the rahmah that the Amir al-Mu'mineen showed to his enemies.
In those environments.
Which make or break where his name has reached today, and why it will always be the strongest of names that we talk about. You know, people say, do we love Ali more or do we love Muhammad more? Say, what's the answer? We always tell the same people.
Of course, it's Muhammad.
How do you even answer that question? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Ali
because-
nafs al-Rasul.
Yeah, exactly.
Nafs al-Rasul, yeah.
Nafs al-Rasul. Like when they said in Mubarak, we talked about Mubahala, bring yourselves. Who did Rasulullah bring? He brought Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. And you cannot say, I love Rasulullah, but my love for Amir al-Mu'mineen is not the same. And it doesn't work like that. Like, you love one, you love the other. They are inseparable. Okay, if you do, with your permission, I'm going to share something.
Please do.
I read earlier today from Nahj al-Balagha, sermon 192. Okay, this is what Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says to the people. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, by Allah, O people, you know the esteem Rasulullah held in me because of our near relationship, and the high position and the respect I enjoyed under his holy eyes. He found no lie in my speaking and no weakness in any of my acts. He would feed me with his hands and bring me close to his bosom and let me sleep next to him where I would smell his fragrance. I used to follow him like the baby of a she-camel would follow his mother. When he used to go to Mount Hira for seclusion, I was the only one who would go and see him. Inseparable. When he used to hoist the manner of virtue and morals, I would be the only one who used to follow these manners and morals. When the religion was only him and Khadija, I was the third of the three with them in that religion. I used to smell the fragrance of Nabuwa, and I used to see the light of revelation. I heard the moan of shaitan, and I said, Ya Rasulullah, what is that moan? And then Rasulullah replied to me, shaitan has today given up on the day of the revelation in anyone worshipping him, rather they will worship Allah. O Ali, you hear what I hear, and you see what I see. Except that you are not a prophet, but you are always on the path of virtue and righteousness.
He took us to some Ghadir vibes, you know.
I zoned out. I was like, Ya Ali, Ya Ali. What, that was Bahar al-Anwar?
No, Sermon 192, Nahj al-Balagha. You know, how can you, after all of that, say Ali is fourth? It just doesn't make, and I don't want to make it a political, a divisive thing. When we say this, it's because we believe Amir al-Mu'mineen was first and foremost politically, spiritually, his understanding of Islam and as a fuqaha and whatever it is as a faqih, all of these manners and all of these kind of delegations within the religion, within society, Amir al-Mu'mineen proved on countless incidents within his life that he was the most learned, the most deserving, and he was the most appointed. He was the most put forward. You know, it doesn't make sense. Like when Rasulullah went to Abu Talib alayhi salam, and he said, I want to take 2 of your children and raise them. Him and I think Uncle Abbas. And he picked Amir al-Mu'mineen. You know, like Rasulullah knew that if I'm raising a kid and I've been given a message, you know, my life is going to go sidetracked if I'm suddenly raising a child that's not my own. But he knew that this is going to be his backbone.
You know, the beauty of that sermon you just mentioned is that he saw the light of revelation.
Yeah.
And we have people claiming that they wrote down the revelation, Katib al-Wahy and stuff. It makes you think, you're rightly guided. against us rightly guided and
MashaAllah, everyone's rightly guided. Everyone, mashallah. Where's the dispute? I don't know.
Everyone's Amir
Where's the
al-Mu'mineen.
dispute?
I said,
But the Quran was
just one man, Ali.
The Quran was revealed in the house of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then that means that when Rasulullah received this revelation, he would talk to his family. Like before he went out there, and even before he did Da'wat al-Ashira and he spoke to even Ghadir, he made it public and whatnot. But even before that, Islam was insular, yani. Like Rasulullah kept it to him and Amir al-Mu'mineen and Sayyidah Khadija. And he would share the secrets of the world and the universe with them, you know. And then you think about it, it's like, how does someone not feel, or how do people not see someone as qualified after all of that experience? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And by the way, just on a side note, Rasulullah kept his revelation secret for a few years, and he says I had to remain silent. People today say blame us for taqiyya. This is sunnah of Rasulullah. So yeah.
But the point of inseparable, oh Ali, you to me is like the position of Harun was to Musa, except there's no prophet after me. How are you putting Imam Ali alayhi salam forth? If the prophet himself said if there's no prophet after him, so if there was a prophet, astaghfirullah, but if there was a prophet after Rasulullah, it would be Ali ibn Abi Talib. So how in anyone's right mind you putting how in anyone's right
there's no
mind,
prophet after him.
Just make it clear.
Yeah, just to clarify, before
somebody wants to crop this.
I was going to say, they're going to cut out that 4 seconds. If there was a prophet, it would be Ali.
La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.
Yeah, said
Ali wali Allah.
Wali Allah. Rasulullah.
You know, let's have a salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It's been a nice first episode of the season, Said.
I've enjoyed it, honestly.
It's been an absolute honor.
It's been a pleasure.
For the first episode as well, you thought of my Haider and I. We're on it.
What else did we get?
you guys here.
The love of Ali is there. I can see it. It's beating.
We grew up with the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen. We feed it off each other. That's how it is. That's how it is in our community.
Our mothers
That's what
fed
I
us
love.
this.
We could go on for
That's what I love about
hours.
our community. By that, before I mentioned London, but London. The beauty about London is, it's a tight knit community. As big as it is, we all feed off each other.
Yeah.
The positives and the negatives. That all helps, by the way. I disagree with this. Let's work to improve it. And we grow as a community with the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And inshallah, we continue to grow. Inshallah, the channels continue to grow. Inshallah, the organizations continue to grow. Inshallah, the mu'aleen continue to grow. And we keep the boat sailing with from above.
Sukhni steering the
No.
inshallah.
No.
Captain Sukhni.
I'm at the back taking out all the water that's being coming into the...
Yeah, may Allah bless you. Any last thoughts, Haider, before we wrap up?
والله الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية أسد الله الغالب غالب كل غالب أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. Brothers and sisters, thank you also for if you stayed this long, may Allah bless you and may you be blessed with the intercession of Amir al-Mu'mineen on the day when it matters most. But if you want more intercession, you need to hit that subscribe button.
Smash it in the love of Ali.
Smash that
Break
subscribe
your
button.
phone.
And we want this season to be more interactive, more engaging. I hope you can tell we're trying to make some changes. Slowly we're getting there. The designs, the sets. We're now doing 4 people on the podcast. Here and there. Sometimes we have 2, 3, but now also inshallah 4 here and there. But we need to hear from you guys some more, your suggestions, your feedback. But also in the comment section below, tell us what you think. What's your favorite hadith of Amir al-Mu'mineen? Is there a story of Amir al-Mu'mineen that you really like? And what can we do more now in this day and age to teach the world about Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam? So we need to learn from you, inshallah. We've talked a lot, but now it's your turn, inshallah, brothers and sisters. But yeah, inshallah, until next week.
Until next week.
Look forward to seeing you then. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.